Yesterday, someone asked me what red flags would be in the remarks and explanation section of a VPAT or ACR. And so I wanted to go over some of the red flags. Now, with the remarks and explanation section, we are elaborating on an answer in the support column. So in the support column, we have supports, partially supports, does not support, and not applicable. So we have this document. It's accounting for the accessibility of a product or service. First, we have the criterion from a technical standard. So let's just use the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. We have these different criterions. And so we're stating whether the product supports, partially supports, does not support, or the criterion is not applicable in the product. So if it does support, then we would have support, right? But if it partially supports, or if it does not support, or it's not applicable, then in the remarks and explanation section, we need to have an answer. And so we need to talk about the functions or features with the accessibility issues, how they do not fully support, if this is a partial support. If it's not applicable, explain why it's not applicable so that the criterion is not applicable. And then if there are accessible alternatives used, describe them. Okay, so that's what we would put in the remarks and explanation section. And this is meant to be a sterile document. It's objective. There's no narrative being painted. This is just what is the state of accessibility for this product or service for this given criterion at the time the ACR was created, at the time the VPAT was filled in. And then, so what would be the red flags here? Well, if it's left blank, that's an obvious one. A huge one, right? This is one you always want to look for, is a lack of specificity. Also, if there are very quick, short, brief comments where it looks like the author, the creator of the ACR was running through this, that's another red flag. Also, downplaying issues. As I mentioned, this is a sterile document. It's not meant to have any color to it. So if someone is trying to add in a story or tell a story, that's not what we're after. We're just after objective facts. What is the state of accessibility? So highlighting positives would go right along with that. And then the use or the overuse of not evaluated. So keep in mind that not evaluated is only intended for WCAG version 2 and up AAA conformance. It's not for any standard below, and it's very likely that the VPAT is not for AAA conformance. So there really shouldn't be any use of not evaluated. Also, another red flag is if there are zero accessibility issues. It's not, I wouldn't say rare, but it's just unlikely that most products are going to have at least a few accessibility issues. And so if you have zero issues, this could be a sign that maybe things are being portrayed too positively. Unless, it would be great if something is fully accessible, but if there are no issues, then that's something where I would look further. Maybe it's not a red flag, maybe that's a pink flag. And then copy and paste responses. The remarks and explanation section should be specific. It should be unique to the product or service. So if we only have generic answers in that section, then that's also a red flag because the details really should be specific to the product. So I think that covers it. That gives you, there are a few more things to look at, but when you're looking at the remarks and explanation section, start to just look at, does this feel authentic? Is there a story being told? Are they trying to be overly optimistic? This is not the time for optimism. Is there enough detail? Is there enough technical specificity? And then so you can always ask too, who created this, right? If it doesn't state who was the one who wrote the VPAT, then, or who completed the ACR, who is behind the creation? You want to look for a reputable accessibility company, or at least someone with a accessibility background. So that's another question you can ask if you start to notice red flags. But generally, it's usually obvious if an ACR has been filled out appropriately. It should be very objective. It should be detailed. It should be specific, and it should read like it's genuine. If anything is perfect, that would be great, but that would invite further questions. And then so you could look and try to determine, well, are there some accessibility issues here? But red flags, those would be the red flags for the remarks and explanation section. I think the biggest one is anything anytime there's a lack of specificity, it's vague, unclear. Those are the remarks and explanations you really want to zero in on.